The clock is ticking. Two fragile ceasefires hang by a thread. The US blows a hole onto a boat and seizes an Iranian ship as new high-stake talks loom. Lebanon gets just 10 days to rein in Hezbollah and maybe secure peace. Is this a fragile path to peace or the edge of a much larger conflict? Has Trump had enough? Now he's saying to the Iranians, you cannot blackmail us. And what did he do? He actually took hold of a ship that was trying to get through the Straits of Hormuz.
Well, they got a little cute, as they have been doing for 47 years. They wanted to close up the strait again, as they've been doing for years. They can't blackmail us. They've gotten away with murder for 47 years. They're not getting away with it anymore.
Emily, are we on the edge of another war? The Islamic Republic actually think right now that all of these negotiations are another trick by Trump and Netanyahu to bring ground troops into Iran. Do you think that's what's happening here? Or is Trump really giving this as much of a string to get these people to accept a deal as he can?
I think at this point, it's safe to assume that Trump is doing everything he can to avoid a ground operation. I mean, from pushing the ceasefire in the first place, the way that he did, and trying to go back to the negotiating table. I think it's a plan to try to get more legitimacy domestically. For what? I don't really know. I do think that he actually believes a deal can be made. Which is problematic in and of itself. But on the flip side of that, the positive thing is that I think he's not going to agree to something that's not a very, very high demand from the Islamic Republic. That said, I mean, I don't think that any kind of deal is acceptable. I don't think that's the solution. Certainly not in the long term. Maybe you can kick something down the road, even a few decades, but at the end of the day, a zebra isn't going to change its stripes.
Absolutely not. But I think what they're trying to figure out or they're trying to present, and maybe that's a good thing in the long term in terms of bringing down the regime, is that the regime essentially today is split into two. It's the moderates, which you and I know are not moderates, Pezeshkian and the kind of more political side, and the IRGC, at the head of it, a guy who apparently doesn't have a leg and has got a facial disfiguration, the son of the Ayatollah, the new guy, Mojtaba Khomeini. Do you think that it's split into two? And if it is, well, maybe that's a good thing, because that means that they're going to fall anyway.
Right. I think it's not going to be fast. I think anyone who thought this was going to be like a one and done, or like a big campaign of we're going to bomb the crap out of them and then it'll be finished, you're dismantling a very, very well-oiled, no pun intended, very well-oiled machine of, with a death wish, a death threat. They know what they're doing. They have in place, if this one goes down, this one goes down. Bringing down a monster like that is a Goliath. And I don't think it's just going to be with one stone. I think it's going to take time. I do hope that Trump will, do what he needs to do one way or the other. I think he would be willing, if they come and they said, we give up, I think he'd sign it. If they don't, he's ready to go to war. And I think that's how you have to deal with him.
I think he actually means it, because he's shown that he's meant it the whole time. But, he just said, Ateret Shmuel, who is back by popular demand. Ateret is an international indigenous rights advocate. Ateret, you are very involved with all these different minority groups around Iran. You hear what they're saying. You've dealt with them in the past. Do you think that the people of Iran, in their different wonderful mosaic that they are ready to actually take up arms and get their country back, or do you think it's premature for them?
I think for sure there are certain segments of Iranian society that have been itching to jump into the fray and to take down the IRGC. From where I sit, it seems very clear that the overwhelming majority of Iranians are diametrically opposed to the IRGC, the Islamic Republic of Iran in general, and have been wanting them to fall for a very long time, nearly 50 years. And many of them have been actively fighting them. Like if you look at the Kurdish regions, like the Kurdish National Army has been actively engaged in combat with the IRGC since the very beginning of this. And I do think that the Iranian people are ready, and I do think that that they've shown that. would it be somewhere between, we still don't even have the numbers, and we will not have the numbers until the dust settles and we're able to have an independent investigation that goes in and sees what happened. But somewhere between, 30 to 100,000 people were killed in January alone. And the Iranian people are not going to forget that. They're not going to move on. They're not going to be like, oh, well, like my whole family was slaughtered. Let's just, continue allowing this to happen. They're angry and they're ready for change. The issue is that they're not armed. Right? And they're facing down not just the IRGC, not just the Basij, not just all of the militias within Iran, but they've also imported all of these external Islamist militias.
Exactly.
And the people, and which is one of the things that drives me nuts when people in the West are like, we shouldn't have foreign intervention. There is foreign intervention. It's already there.
Exactly.
And it's against the Iranian people. What the Iranian people want is the fall of the IRGC and to usher in a democratic system. And they're very clear about what they want and who they want and how they want it to happen. And I think that Trump and Israel are uniquely positioned to help allow that to happen. And the Iranian people are very, very vocally supportive and grateful for that. And I do think that it's time. I really do have hope that we can take them down and that we have to. I don't think we can kick this down
there's
the
no
road anymore.
you can't leave them in place. And I think the Gulf countries also understand that. And I think that what Trump has managed to do, which I think is genius, is that before this war, time was always on the side of the IRGC. They kept pushing, with successive American presidents, let's do more negotiations and get to the thing, and more negotiations and get to the threshold. And they played with time. And I think what's flipped now is that time is not on their side because they're bleeding money every single day by the closure of the Straits of Hormuz, which is their lifeline to money and to funding. I mean, basically their economy is energy exports. And if the Americans are closing their energy exports, then they have no money. If they have no money, they can't pay their fighters. If they can't pay their fighters...
They're already in this situation, by the way. They were unable the previous month to pay the IRGC.
So I
keep going.
So do you think that that's really the patience we need to have, however exhausted we are with this whole thing? And God knows the Iranian people are much more exhausted than us. But do you think the game now is like, Trump is playing with them the way that they played with the whole world?
I think he's doing more than playing. I think he's showing that the way that things have been, the status quo, and the rulers and those who, are ruling the strait and ruling resources don't have to be. I feel like he's just upending the chess pieces, or checkers pieces, or whatever game you like, because at the end of the day, everyone has always allowed them to make the rules. And Trump is saying, well, you know what? We don't have to play this game. We don't have to have these.
I'm not sure I agree with that. I think a lot of what Trump has done just in the past few weeks is very problematic. Even if there's a grand strategy behind it, the language that's been used, the way that he phrased it, he's saying more than he needs to for a grand strategy like that. And it's been very damaging to some of the people whom he needs to motivate.
Yeah.
And I do think it's been a bit problematic. I would be delighted to be wrong. I would be delighted to be proven wrong in every way, and I will eat my words and apologize. But I do think he's been a little bit irresponsible with some of how he's handled. The way that he talked about what he was going to do actually damaged his ability to implement what we needed to do militarily. There's no way anyone can convince me that that didn't impact the push towards a temporary ceasefire. The language of empowerment to the regime in the sense that we're going to negotiate with you as the legitimate representation of the Iranian people is crazy. The claims that there's already been regime change.
I know.
I mean, this is it's offensive to the people who just suffered this mass slaughter at the hands of the exact same regime who's executing them even now.
But I think that Trump, I don't know, at least from where I said, Trump says crazy stuff.
Yes.
And he tweets insane things. And I, for one, would actually really hope that somebody out there stops him before he continues tweeting really unhinged things with all sorts of
we're talking about enforcing a ceasefire. We're not the 51st state. Yeah. This is supposed to be a mutually beneficial relationship, and it is. But when the president of the United States makes a comment like, Israel is prohibited from doing this, first of all, this is your freaking war. okay? You're not fighting the war for Israel. The IDF and those soldiers in Lebanon are fighting the war for the United States, okay? Hezbollah has killed hundreds of American soldiers.
Yeah.
So for President Trump to respond the way that he responded, I think it's really problematic. Not to mention the fact that all those residents in the north, it's outrageous. It's outrageous that we would make any kind of deal with Hezbollah.
And then
be no alternative.
And then the next day, I feel like Trump is, because he's kind of so volatile. And then the next day he writes, there's never been such a great partner as Israel. So obviously somebody said to him, listen, dude, this didn't sound so good.
I think that there's a huge difference. Like, one of the things that a lot of Westerners don't seem to understand is that there's a huge difference between the way that we present ourselves to the West and people who are open to diplomacy and peace agreements and negotiations.
Democracies.
And the way that we present ourselves and the way that the West presents themselves to Islamist countries and dictatorships. Because the truth of the matter is that what Americans perceive to be completely insane and unhinged, Arab countries and Islamist countries are like, oh, this is a man that I respect.
Which is Trump.
Which is Trump.
He's
which is
learned
why
to speak their language.
Correct.
That's been his language.
And well,
he's
he's the kind of character that these people really respect and appreciate. Womanizing, showy, ostentatious man who shows up and does whatever he wants to and says what he wants to, and nobody can hold him, nobody can control him. That is the kind of person that they want to interact with. These are the kinds of leaders that they're used to. And I keep seeing that there's like this lack of understanding within the West. You know, I talk to even members of my own family, and they're like, why would he do that? Do you remember that video that he posted about what he planned to do to Gaza with all of the bearded belly dancers?
No, when he was going to do like a monologue.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes,
so every American I knew was like, what the hell is going on? And I work with all of these different tribal nations throughout the Middle East. I was like, this is brilliant. This is amazing, because he's showing them that he's going to like step on them, and he's going to flip everything that's important to them. And they see it that way. And they respond in a way that's actually willing to meet him some way. Now, I think also we need to understand that these aren't countries that are actually interested in negotiations or diplomacy or holding by any words or agreements that they have. So having him be just as unstable and just as unreliable, I think, is actually probably
that's what I'm saying, that he's doing to them what they've been doing, the Islamic Republic have been doing to the West. I've been saying this for 2 weeks, but let's just talk practicalities. They're supposed to be back in Islamabad. When is it? Tomorrow is the end of the ceasefire? Tuesday? Tuesday's the end of the ceasefire? Gosh,
well, the Islamic Republic already said they're not showing up, so who knows? You
So
know, it changes by the hour.
They say they're not showing up. Meanwhile,
and the country is run by a cardboard cutout.
Meanwhile, they've taken this ship. They've taken this ship, which is the Islamic Republic's intent or attempt at trying to export oil, and they blew a hole in the ship, which is interesting. And apparently, the ship is huge. It's like almost the size of one of the big American carriers that are in the region. So the whole thing, and also, you know what really bothers me? The legitimization of Pakistan. For God's sake, Pakistan is not an honest broker. I said this in an Indian TV channel, and it was taken, and the AI, there was an AI video of me speaking about Pakistan that I never said, and one of the dead giveaways was that they gave me a Pakistani accent.
I love that.
What did you say?
Watch this.
As of now, Israel remains angry at one person only. That is Pakistani military chief Asim Munir. He's the one trying to wow Trump and push him away from Israel. He's trying to make Israel alone in this war.
Basically, I just said, before Pakistan was given the charge of being the mediators, why Pakistan when they've got their own jihadi problem, and they're just maybe trying to make themselves relevant in this war. So
they have a lot to lose. I think that if we look at the bigger geopolitical situation, Pakistan is allied with a lot of the same Islamist powers and are really way more invested and involved in what's happening here than we care to admit.
That was my point.
And especially with the new sort of alliance between India and Israel and Modi having come here,
Yep, right.
there's a lot that's going on right now.
Yes.
And Pakistan is in jeopardy. And so Pakistan is really, really sort of flailing and gesticulating wildly to try to get relevance and survive.
Well, that's what I said in this interview. And so they took my little piece and then they put words in my mouth about a general, I don't even know who he is, about some Pakistani general that I'm supposedly insulting in this AI video.
My
But the best thing is that they gave me a Pakistani accent.
I love that for you.
So if you're going to do AI, people, get it straight. There's good tools out there.
Or give all of us Pakistani accents. All
or nothing.
The
I
quad.
want to address what you said about something about Trump telling us what to do with Lebanon. Only because I happen to also see at the same time Kamala Harris, among other people, very high-profile people, saying Bibi forced Trump into this war.
He entered a war, got pulled into it by Bibi Netanyahu, let's be clear about that, entered a war that the American people do not want, putting at risk American service members.
Kamala Harris and other high-profile, I think I'm trying to remember who it was.
Jake Sullivan.
People in the government that are respected,
of
not
advisors
just
people.
Candace Owens, okay?
Yeah.
Are saying, Bibi's been trying to do this for decades, trying to get presidents to do this. So I feel like I wonder if, I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying, I wonder if that was his response to this, to say, no, he's not forcing me to do anything. Watch, I can force him to do something.
Yes,
again,
do
wrong.
so by insulting an ally is like,
Of course. And,
I definitely.
I ain't no Trump fan.
I definitely think that's part of it. He wants to show that he's the big boss. That's fine. And I don't think for 1 second he did something that he didn't want to do. Let's be honest. This is Trump. Yeah. What does he do that he doesn't want to do, this man? And people don't give him enough credit for the fact that he's been talking about the threat of the Islamic Republic way before he became the president.
Yeah.
This is something he's constantly been speaking about. Give the man the credit to know that if he's getting intelligence reports that these people are on the verge of enriching uranium and creating missiles to actually send to Europe and the east coast of America, that's what would happen. I don't understand why people don't think, but the question is what's going to happen if Islamabad, the talks are going to happen, if this whole blowing a hole on the ship, I think is brilliant, and if the next strategy, and that's what people are talking about, is taking over the Kaga Island, which is the main source of the exports of energy. But let's take a little trip up north to Lebanon and see what's happening there, because we also have a ceasefire with Lebanon. What's going to happen? Do you think that Yosef Aoun is going to be able to get rid of Hezbollah? Does he want to get rid of Hezbollah? Just watch this.
ولما حكينا بالتفاوض طلع البعض قال شو جايين من الدبلوماسية. بديله للبعض شو جايين من الحرب تبعك. صار عندنا فوق ال 1400 شهيد. فوق ال 4000 جريح. آلاف المنازل مدمرة. فوق ال1,200,000 نازح. عم بيعيشوا حياة صعبة. أي أفضل كان؟ نطول بالنا ونروح على التفاوض ولا منروح على الحرب؟ لا. غزة اتدمرت وراح فوق 70-80 ألف ضحية. آخر شيء قعدوا وتفاوضوا. طيب نحن ليه ما هلأ بنقعد بنتفاوض؟ لنوقف هالمآسي ونوقف هالنزف اللي عم بيعاني منه لبنان.
He's trying to justify why he should go into negotiations with Israel. Well, best reason that maybe your country would actually benefit from that. I mean, is this even possible? Are we just playing around here?
I just think it's so clear from this video. It's almost like a hostage situation. Like It's like the dude has no choice but other than to pay lip service to Hezbollah because they're clearly terrified. They don't have enough control. They don't have enough control to be able to implement this, to be able to disarm Hezbollah, to be able to dismantle Hezbollah, at least south of the Litani, in accordance with international law. They can't. They're too weak. Even if he wanted to, he wouldn't be able to. And at some point or another, they're going to have to face the music and come to the table with Israel and figure out a way to work together.
Okay, but let's say they come. They're at the table with Israel, and we heard the Israel ambassador Yechiel Leiter speak to the press when he was asked why the French weren't involved. Like, we want to keep them away from this because they've only been a bad influence. And he's 100% correct. But the question is, let's say they say, okay, we're now going to sign normalization. They're going to join the Abraham Accords. In practice, on the ground, where 2 Israeli soldiers were killed 2 days ago from a roadside bomb, what is going to change? What is going to change?
We have to fight a war with the Lebanese army.
That's, I mean, I don't
Like together with.
side you mean, or against them?
No, together.
With them.
And against Hezbollah.
And there's
Our
even-
interests are the same.
Our interests are the same. And you know whose interests are also the same, ironically? Maybe Syria.
And almost every other group of people in this region. And what's actually been really interesting is from like a boots on the ground grassroots perspective, what I've been seeing on my social media and my DMs, all sorts of things, is all this like huge groundswell of like love and support and solidarity from the people of Lebanon, from the people of Syria, from the people of Iran, obviously, but also Iraqis. There's and obviously Indians. What's one of the things that's the most amazing about this entire situation is that we're watching in real time as geopolitical alliances are shifting massively. And there's a brand new like alliance that is taking place between, like India, Israel, the United States, and now with what's happening, and it's all interconnected.
And the Gulf countries.
But also with Latin America, with Venezuela, with what's happening in Cuba, and it's all interconnected and it's all playing together. And we're seeing this growing solidarity movement amongst the peoples. And I think it's really, in addition to just being like a feel-good thing, I think it's really movement towards something much bigger militarily and geopolitically moving forward. I have hope. I have a lot of hope about that.
I definitely think when we get to the other side of this war, and God knows when that is, we don't see the end here right now. But when we do, I do think there's going to be a security defense realignment. I don't see how Trump continues feeling good or contributing to NATO.
And we also lost Europe. Like Europe is now
Western Europe.
Europe has committed suicide, okay? Yeah. Let's be clear. I don't see how Trump continues to sit in a NATO summit and not say, well, he's already said, you guys are useless, you're a paper tiger. But I truly believe that the other side of this rainbow, if we can call it that, is a new defense pact with Gulf countries, like Sunni moderate countries, India perhaps. We already have the agreement with the IMEC corridor, which is India, Middle East corridor, that's supposed to bring goods from India through the Middle East to Europe, through Eastern Europe. I don't see how the whole world doesn't realign after this war.
And if you can imagine a reality with a free Iran.
Yeah, oh God.
An alliance simply just between a free Iran
and Israel.
India, Israel, the United States, and like potentially freed Venezuela and Cuba. That's like the overwhelming majority of resources, oil and gold, especially in the world. Yeah. And it's
Talk
a real
about taking China down.
That's what I'm saying. So the alliance between the Red-Green Alliance can't do anything about it. It's a brilliant political maneuver.
Communism is a death cult.
Yes, but also,
as is Islam.
This is all a big, people.
Islamism.
Islamism. But zoom out, and this is really all about China, isn't it? And being the superpower, maintaining the superpower status.
Sitting on the side.
That America
buying up islands all throughout the Pacific,
infiltrating the youth of 100%.
It's about
everywhere.
It's about Taiwan and the chip manufacturing, and Trump going next month or 2 months with Xi and basically carving it out and saying, I give you this, you give me that, don't stop me here. That's the way that I see it. But this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity to bring down the Islamists that are trying to destroy the entire world. And let's see what happens. Now, if we just spend a few minutes to talk about what's going on in Gaza and what happens after a ceasefire with Islamists who unfortunately are still there, a story that did not make the mainstream media, and why would it, is the story of these poor Gazan widows being abused and raped by Hamas. Watch this.
في جمعيات يما بتستغل النسوان صح اقول لك لا اصيل بغش النسوان مسكينات بيرمن حالها على شان تاخذ لها حبه رز حبه سكر
بحكي لها تعالي تفضلي في إلك طرد وهو يمثل تنظيم إسلامي، تنظيم بديش أحكي أنا تنظيم سياسي. إذا بتمشي معي هيك أنا بعطيكي كذا. والستات اللي ما عندهم خبرة في الحياة وهيك يعني ينعزلوا جانبا.
منفصلة، إلي 4 أطفال. قال لي واو منفصلة ما شاء الله عنك، يعني كل هالجمال هذا ومنفصلة. المهم حكى لي ولا يهمك، أنا حأساعدك وأكون إن شاء الله بجنبك، هاتي رقمك وإن شاء الله خير. أنا أخذتها على إنه يعني كوالد صراحة، يعني هي كوالدي بده يساعدني في الظروف هذه. أكيد في ناس مناح زي ما في ناس مش نافعة. قال لي بدي تفتح معي.
Where are the so-called feminists and the blue hair brigade when you need them? Oh, they're on a boat, right?
Yes.
What's happening on the boat?
They are the Flotilla sexual predator boat.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So apparently some of them got into some. First of all, people were already upset because they were hooking up on this boat, I guess, the love boat. But some of the
Wait, was that
Islamists got
before or
upset.
after they came back from their little Cuba adventure?
Oh,
I think it was after.
Yes. Where are they getting all these boats from, I
They
wonder?
had, and lots of
They have
expeditions.
a ton of money because they're working with the
Strangely, none
Islamists.
to Iran.
Yeah, none to
And
Iran.
so where's Greta's flotilla to the Strait of Hormuz?
They don't care about
I would love
Islamic
to see
people.
that.
Oh my God.
They're working with
now
the IRGC.
that, Greta, you want to be useful. Why don't you take a little flotilla to the Strait of Hormuz? Maybe then
That
somebody...
would be, I would buy tickets to watch that.
I still think we should just let them into Gaza. But they're actually working for the Islamic Republic. They're working in partnership with them, and they
They're
don't.
probably funded.
I'm 100% sure that they are.
And maybe this is what we just need, them to, the wells to literally dry up from the funding. What's going to happen to all these proxies? What's going to happen to Hamas once the money from the Islamic Republic is no longer there? Qatar?
Well, I mean, it could be Qatar, it could be a number of other players who want to have interest in advancing that, but it certainly does change the game.
It
Which
changes
is what
the game.
we need to see right now for all of these terror proxies, the Houthis and the proxies in Iraq and the proxies in Syria that still exist, although are smaller now. Lebanon with Hezbollah, Islamic Jihad, all of them.
I just want to point out,
Islamic-
even if we finish this whole war and let's say we win, the West wins, all of the infiltration, all of the mind messing in the West, it's still there.
Oh, God.
Right, but
like this is not
Ironically, it might only still be there after we bring down the Islamic Republic.
Correct.
That's the irony. It's going to stay in Europe.
Correct.
It's going to, maybe in America, they'll manage to clean out a little bit, not academia.
Well, they have
Academia
to clean out academia and the news media.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the real war here. I mean, we have a military war, but I think that most of the people that are engaging in this military war understand that they have no chance against the alliance between Israel and the West.
Yeah.
And so they've chosen instead to invest most of their time and energy into a war of perception, a psychological warfare.
Yeah.
And the American people specifically have no idea.
Nothing.
Yeah.
No idea what they're dealing with. They genuinely trust their news. They have no idea that both the left wing and the right wing's news, social media, celebrities, academia, and also their favorite podcasters have all been purchased by exactly the same people. I saw this amazing video that put side by side Anna Kasparian and Nick Fuentes saying literally the exact same things because they're told to. They have been trained to say the exact same things. You get it's literally like also what's his name, Hassan Piker and Tucker Carlson, all of these people that have been bought and sold by the Islamic Republic, by Qatar, by all of these.
Hassan Piker got a hero's welcome in Yale University.
And where he spoke about the downfall of the
was a good thing.
Yeah, where he spoke about the downfall of the USSR. And it's really shocking. And Americans do not get it because they haven't, they've lived in a free country.
Yeah.
And so they don't understand the importance and the impact of psychological warfare and propaganda. And so many people I grew up with, I get messages daily that are like, 10 years ago, they would have been reason to institutionalize someone.
Right.
I literally get screeds on the daily from people I actually know and grew up with, people in academia, people at some of the major Ivy League universities, professors, people who should know better, just sending me these like crazy patchwork quilts of like propaganda that have been stitched together from the left and the right and Islamists and socialists and all of these different like propaganda machines.
Absolutely.
And they have no idea that it's not legitimate news, that all of the sources that they're quoting are like feedback into each other. And it's terrifying.
It's terrifying. It's a real war. We're not even in that arena, if you ask me. America hasn't woken up. And I actually gave a talk last week to a group of female leaders. They think that we're losing the war. I mean, they think
that's
that
part
America,
of the psychological propaganda.
It's part of the propaganda that Americans have now been told that this war is being lost. It's absolutely
And the
crazy.
reason why that's happening is a disinformation campaign
Yes.
to demoralize the American people. And it's been incredibly successful. And
Yes.
why are they doing it? They're doing it so that the American people put pressure on the American government to stop this absolutely desperately needed war.
Yes.
And it's not true. If you look at the reality on the ground, Iran is literally being ruled by a cardboard cutout right now. We have taken down the top 3 or 4 tiers of the IRGC, the Ayatollah,
True.
the Basij, all of the militant groups, all of the political leadership, all of the religious leadership. And we have done so successfully and with minimal civilian casualties. This war has been, like, from a human rights perspective, like, I have never seen anything in my decades of human rights and international human and indigenous rights work that has been so clean and so surgical and so well thought out. There's definitely things that are not well thought out. For example, I think some of these ceasefires and pauses, but we are witnessing a complete takedown of one of the world's most evil empires, and in real time, and with very little civilian bloodshed, and that's amazing.
Absolutely.
But the American people do not know that, and they are positive that I even see like like Americans who are like, well, I think Israel is fighting a just war because this is an existential threat to Israel, but Americans are facing an existential threat.
Yeah.
We
It's
weren't.
not an imminent threat to us.
Right. Iran wasn't really going to get a nuke. We were warned about this in Iraq. And it's propaganda that's been spoon-fed to them, like blasted directly into their eyeballs for months by these news systems and the academics and all of the systems of distributing and processing information that have been hijacked by the Red Green Alliance.
With a nice smear of anti-Semitism, either covertly or overtly in
generally.
all of these news. But talking of scumbags, we want to go on to our favorite segment, Scumbag of the Week. All right, let's save it. Let's save it, ladies, because every week, so many more. Shoshana, who's your scumbag this week? Oh, Shoshana, take a breath. Take a breath, Len.
I am, okay, my scumbags are these 2 women, and people like them, but particularly these 2. I don't even have their names on me, but I'm sure we'll get them. I think it's a mother and daughter.
It is.
Yeah.
Okay, they're from the UK. And they are so brave because they are actually looking at Israelis who they believe are baby killers. And they're screaming at them in public. And I have to say, ladies, if you really think they're baby killers, why aren't you nervous? Why don't you worry that the Mossad agency that's obviously got the plastic eye in the Israelis know your names, your friends' names, all your illegitimate children's names. They know exactly where you live. They know where everyone is, and we're going to come after you. Why don't you think for 1 second, maybe this isn't a good idea? Because you know it's not true. Everyone going around screaming baby killers at Israelis knows that nothing is going to actually happen to you. So you are performative. Because if you thought we were baby killers and you thought that we actually ran the world, you'd be nervous.
Yeah.
You'd be worried that you would be our next target. But you're not. You're just performative. You and your daughter running around saying baby killers to people. Let me just tell you something. Karma's a bitch, and she looks like me.
Hey, well, you forgot to mention this is in Vietnam, where Israelis are going to
but they do it all over the world.
to take a breath, you know. They go to Thailand, they go to Vietnam to just, you know, decompress from a very difficult situation. Many of these kids are soldiers, like after their service.
Or survivors.
After they're survivors, they've seen their friends being killed. And these 2 disgusting vipers, I don't understand why the Vietnamese authorities don't just arrest them, because this is going to put off, it doesn't happen in Thailand, by the way.
Interesting.
It happened once or twice, very, very minimally, and these people were like taken up because Israeli tourism is so important. But Israeli tourism is really spreading now to Vietnam and the Philippines. And so these countries are going to have to keep these people in check.
These people make me so angry.
They're vile.
Come at me.
Vile.
Come at me.
I would be in jail. I would be
in jail too
Yeah.
because
I would be in jail.
I
these
wouldn't-
Israelis
yeah.
remained so composed.
I don't know how they do
I've
it.
got to tell you, they remained
No, I
super
would have
composed.
gotten immediately on live stream.
Yeah?
Yeah. So
Emily,
everyone-
but the fact of the matter is that they took videos of themselves chasing.
Yeah, they thought it was
they
like a
chased
good look.
Israelis
Did somebody
minding their
take
own
the
business,
video back?
screaming insanity at them,
we know who
and
they
then
are. Their
put
names
it
are out there.
online because they're proud of it, because this is a direct result of all the anti-Semitic hate and propaganda that's been
Yes, it is.
flowing freely throughout the Western world.
Yes, with no consequence. Absolutely.
But
They
that's
are-
why,
especially in the UK.
people who are watching this, like you at home, have to actively fight anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
This is not something that you can just cluck your, oh, that's sad. No, this is like actual real world consequences.
Yeah.
Very, very, very concerning.
Absolutely.
And if they had a little bit more cojones, they could have actually picked up a rock and thrown it at them.
And the thing is,
I would have thrown the ramen bowl on that.
oh my God, yeah, they would have been covered in.
No, I'm
noodles.
saying if the bad.
But the thing is that everybody talks about like the silent majority, right? Like people are like, no, we're not all like that. And you can see in the video, there's this one video where
nobody
they're
does
screaming at the kids eating noodles. The woman in the back is like, she's like horrified by what's happening, but she doesn't say anything.
That's right.
You know? And like the thing about the silent majority is the silent majority is complicit. Right? The silent majority
That's
was.
what Elie Wiesel says.
Right,
It was
this-
apathy that created the circumstance. It wasn't necessarily the
and
bad
we
people.
can't
People
afford
didn't do
that
anything.
because it always starts
fly
with
me
the
out to
Jews.
where they live.
It always starts
I'm
with
gonna
the
go harass
Jews,
them.
and it never ends with the
Never
Jews.
ends with the Jews. Well, thank you. They are very worthy scumbags. And I'd like to name and shame them. Like, put
I'll
their
get their names.
pictures up. And if you are employing any one of these
They live
two
in Leeds.
horrible women, then please do the right thing and fire them because they're a disgrace. Okay, Emily, who's your scumbag this week?
Well, I thought about it a lot, who I wanted to focus on this week, because there are a lot of options.
Oh,
and there
God.
seems to be no shortage of scumbags in the world.
Never.
But ultimately, there was a story that happened yesterday that is very, very tragic that I want to talk about. And so my scumbag this week is the IRGC. Now, that could be literally for a million reasons.
Yeah.
But this week in particular, I've got to say the IRGC / the siege forces because of the story of Ahmed Khodai, who killed himself yesterday, actually. This was an individual who he and his wife at the time, at the height of the protests a couple of months ago, helped into their home several protesters that were injured. His wife was a nurse. The security forces, the IRGC, stormed into their home, ended up shooting his wife. When they took her body away, a few weeks later, they had taken videos and recorded footage of them sexually assaulting her body, and they sent them to her husband.
Is she morgue? She was in a
the
morgue,
morgue,
dead, and they basically...
Yeah.
Oh, my God.
Yeah. This is obviously a horrific story, and the most horrific thing of all is that it's not actually unusual. This is something that they do. This is a way that they operate. It's a tool that they use in order to terrorize the entire population. And I don't think that people in the West understand just to what extent they're willing to do things like this. We're talking about a regime whose officials have executed their own children in certain situations.
Oh, God.
So to say that they're extreme doesn't really do it justice in a world where you think, you know, you're offended to the same level by what someone said on X. They're not the same thing. This is an absolute dystopian hell that the Islamic regime exists today. And it's all the more reason why I think everyone in the international community needs to take a firmer stance against this in whatever way they're able to, whether militarily or otherwise.
Amen. These are really human monsters, and the same type of crimes that happened on October 7th, when they were raping dead women.
Yes.
After they were raping them, they killed them, and they continued to rape them. These are disgusting monsters that need to be eliminated. What else do you want to do with these people? Reform them? It's not going to happen. Oh,
And
what
it's
a
the same
story,
patterns
Emily.
that we see. You know, you were talking about how Islamism is a death cult, and that's exactly correct. I mean, these patterns we see
everywhere
in all the Islamist terror communities. Okay, Hezbollah has things like this. Houthis have they have child marriage. They have sexual.
Don't forget about the pedophilia.
It's
pedophilia.
a problem in all of these extremist communities, and we have to do something about it.
If we don't, it will continue to spread.
Yeah. I mean, I was just watching this whole thing in Afghanistan, what they do to little boys.
Yep.
They turn them into essentially prostitutes.
Yep.
The whole thing's disgusting. And you know what the worst thing is? That you've got one Jewish pedophile, Epstein, and all I get on my comments, Epstein, the Epstein country.
That's also
Epstein,
an official Islamic Republic talking point.
Projecting one Jewish pedophile. I'm sure there's more than one, okay? But we don't sanctify and glorify pedophilia.
It's not codified into law here, whereas it is in the
we're
Islamic Republic.
ashamed of Epstein, all right? He's not representative of what we stand for. But in contrast, this is completely representative of this cult. And so I just can't take it anymore. All I get in my comments is Epstein.
But the amazing part of it is the hypocrisy, because it's the same people that are freaking out about Epstein and claiming that Epstein was controlled by Israel, who are completely supportive of Hamas, Hezbollah, the Houthis, the Islamic
and also
Republic of Iran.
9-year-olds getting married.
Exactly.
Which in all of these places, it's not only legal what Epstein did, but it's codified into law and encouraged.
It's institutionalized pedophilia.
And these are the same people who are supporting those people.
Yes.
It's insane.
But that's why it's all projection. Everything is projection.
No, guys. You're missing also a very big piece of this. The Jew is the scapegoat, okay? The Jew is the scapegoat. I do have rage. I do have outrage, but I can't put it here because that would be racist. I can't put it on the UK gang rape
scandals,
gangs.
And the gangs.
I can't do it there because they're brown people, and brown people can't be oppressors. They can only be oppressed.
Yes.
Therefore, I have to go
Except
to my
for brown
scapegoat.
Jews.
And my scapegoat is always the Jew.
Yeah.
Even if
so
they're
I
brown.
can name Epstein. I can't name anyone in the gang rape gangs.
True.
Because I can't do that, but I can do it here. And the Jew is always there, sitting there to be your scapegoat. That is part of this whole story.
I like to call that the Jesus complex, projecting all of their sins onto this like effigy and then demanding that we be killed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. On that happy note, who's your scumbag?
So my scumbag today and every day is the UN.
Oh, why not?
Now, as we just heard, the Islamic Republic is renowned and known for their crimes against humanity, their pedophilia, their sexual assault of innocent girls before they execute them for no reason, their arrests, their torture, their slaughter of their own innocent civilians and innocent civilians all over the world, their proxy wars everywhere. And you would think that a body like the UN that pretends to be some sort of moral authority that people all over the world, millions of people look to as a moral authority, as those who can judge others, would be, I don't know, moral or ethical in some way, but they're not, because they just elected the Islamic Republic of Iran to sit on their special committee on the Charter of United Nations, which judges and decides issues of women's rights, human rights, terrorism, fighting terrorism, and all sorts of things like that. Things that the Islamic Republic of Iran is uniquely and specifically guilty of. And I think that for years I've been talking about this because I've worked in international human rights for years. And for years, the UN, I think, is one of the most evil bodies that there is because people, it's meant to be, and they pretend to be, like a legal and moral and humanitarian authority. The people that are able to stop bad things from happening, but they don't do that. What they do is they use their platform.
They provide cover.
They give the platform to people who are committing these atrocities, so that not only do they never have to be held accountable for it, but that they are able to continue doing these horrible human rights atrocities throughout the world without anybody being able to stop them.
Yeah.
And so my scumbag of the week is obviously also the Islamic Republic of Iran, but the UN for giving them this massive and very important decision-making platform. And I think that any of you that couldn't see the problems, how problematic the UN was before now, if you can't see it now, after the Islamic Republic of Iran slaughtered between 30 to 100,000 of its own people in January alone, them being the people that are elected to make decisions and major calls on human rights,
No, it's just
there's no way to get through.
No, there's no way to get through. They're running cover for the worst perpetrators of human rights in the world. They've been doing that. You should see who else is on those committees.
I mean, the UN, members of the UN themselves have been implicated and tried and have been found guilty of all sorts of crimes against humanity, sexual human trafficking throughout the Caribbean. Also, they were involved in October 7th.
Yes.
The UN's own investigation into their own staff members being involved showed that half of the people that they looked into were, in fact, unbelievably guilty of doing horrific things: rape, torture, hostage holding, kidnapping, murder. And it's true not just here, but throughout the world.
Yeah. But we do like a scumbag with a happy ending. And from what I hear, the UN is running out of money because America is going to be pulling back a lot of money. And at least UNRWA is looking like it's in terrible crisis, which is a good news. UNIFIL, who's hiding Hezbollah terrorists, nobody's going to be funding them anymore. And so hopefully, again, after this war, I think there's going to have to be a lot of changes in the international organizational scene. And I'm hoping the UN's going to, I don't know, change into something better because it cannot carry on. The people who perpetrate the worst crimes against humanity cannot have the same vote as, democracies that uphold the rule of law. It just just makes no sense. So let's hope that this is the beginning of their end, but fantastic scumbag. They've been a scumbag many times, and there's always a good new reason to make them a scumbag. Okay. My scumbag of the week is a little man called Konrad Berkowicz, who is a far-right member of parliament for the Confederation Party of the Polish parliament. Now, this guy, of course, he's a nobody. And how do you become a somebody today in the very noisy world that we live in? Well, you take the Israeli flag, you take the Magen David off and you put a Nazi sign instead. And you decide that on Holocaust Remembrance Day, which was last week, you are going to spit on the memories of the Jews that were genocided by the Nazis, take the Nazi symbol and put it up on display in your speech as a member of parliament. And again, I just don't know what to say anymore. The guy is from a far-right Polish party, which means, like you were saying earlier, like we always say, the anti-Semitism can come from anywhere. It comes from the far left. It comes from the far right. This man now got his 15 minutes of fame for being a total scumbag and for spitting on the memories of all those people that were killed and doing it on Holocaust Remembrance Day just to twist the knife a little bit more. So I don't know much about you because there's probably not much to say except that you're a scumbag. Konrad Berkowicz from Poland. Okay. Now let's cleanse our souls and feel good about humanity by finding some heroes. And there's always heroes. Shoshana, who's your hero?
My hero is actually very related to the scumbag, ironically, because another screaming banshee, this time in New York, is going after Israelis, screaming, baby killer, because that's what white girls are good at. Sorry. And
Kafia Karens.
Kafia Karens. Nobody does anything. You can see this video, these Israelis are just literally sitting there. And I don't know how maybe she's learned Hebrew or enough words in Hebrew or an accent, or she just knows if they hot the Israelis. And she sees them and she's like, baby killers, these guys are baby killers. And she's filming herself because she's a loser. And then a Spider-Man comes on and be like, you can't do that.
Literally.
Like, he doesn't scream, he doesn't yell. He's just like, you can't do that. You shouldn't be harassing people. You really should not be doing that here. Totally chill, totally like, you guys could do this on your own, even if you don't look like Spider-Man. It's something you could walk up to some crazy lunatic and just be like, yeah, you shouldn't really be doing that, sweetheart. No, it's not a nice idea. So, Spider-Man, you're my hero for being a good, normal, decent person. Congratulations to you. And Kafia Karen... Don't be sad that they don't like you. They hot and you not.
Yeah, they're definitely hot. And let me tell you, she lost her job. This is the second time she's lost her job.
She should not be functioning with human beings.
She's a mental health professional.
Okay.
And she lost her job. Spider-Man, of course, is the guy dressed up on Times Square.
Yes.
Not the real one, even though we do like Tom Holland. I like the whole Zendaya thing. But
how do you really feel, Fleur? Shall we talk about Tom Holland?
A little short, but yeah. But he was just a decent guy.
Like a totally normal human being, like a New Yorker should be.
Exactly.
The New York that I grew up in, anyway.
Yes, we love you, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
Thank you. We don't know who you are under that mask, but
Real
Well
life
done.
superhero.
The hero of the
Well
week.
done.
Emily, who's your hero this week?
So my hero this week is Javier Milei, the Argentinian president.
Yes.
He just arrived in Israel.
Yay!
Unfortunately, I can't interview him because I don't speak Spanish, but you can.
I can. Javier, por favor, aquí estamos. Soy la única que te puede entrevistar en todo este país.
Sí.
What she said. Anyway, my hero for a long time, been a big fan of Milei, everything that he stands for, from economics to Israel. And he's been a true friend, a true ally to the state of Israel throughout all of this, a very difficult time in the aftermath of October 7th, a fierce friend and ally, and also someone actively working to move forward and advance Israel diplomatically, economically, and in all different ways in the Argentina-Israel relationship, and also Israel in general in Latin America. So you're my hero of the week. Keep up the great work of everything that you're doing, and thanks for being a friend to Israel.
We love Javier Milei.
Absolutely.
And he's also, you know, he's also fun.
Oh, yeah.
Did you see?
The video of him singing?
They did he's going to be lighting a torch on Independence Day, which is a big honor in this country. And basically last night they had dress rehearsals. And there were two Argentinian singers who were going to be doing a little kind of tribute to him. He grabs the microphone
Starts singing.
and starts singing with them. The guy's got a personality.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what
he
I
does.
love about it. And the good news also is that there's going to be a direct flight, Tel Aviv, Buenos
let's
Aires.
go. On location.
Yes. Let's do location. Let's
That's
watch
a long one, huh?
the southern lights, the northern lights. I don't know what to call
I'm
it. They've got the southern
Some lights.
Sunlights. Let's go to Argentina. I love Javier Milei.
I am totally on board.
My nearest claim to fame is that I met him and I had a few words with him and he was very nice.
Oh, very
nice. Very simpático, as we say in Spanish. Great hero, Emily. What about you, Jill?
So I have like a really wholesome, feel-good hero story that's in a similar vein to our dear friend Spider-Man. So last week, I don't actually know when the incident happened, but I think it was very recently. There was this like Jewish guy who has a pizza parlor in Hastings-on-Hudson in New York, just like a small town in Westchester County called Slice's Pizza. It was owned by a Jewish man named Isaac Garson. And like many places, I think at this point it's almost impossible to find a Jew who hasn't been targeted by the Ku Klux Klan. You know, like every single one of us, no matter what we do, no matter where we are you writing that down?
Yes. Ku Klux Klan. Let's make this into a hashtag, please.
I'll be here all day. Basically, they targeted this guy who is just like this sweet little like wholesome pizza guy who feeds like the area's kids. Everybody loves him. Everybody knows him. And they came after him and they filmed themselves doing it because, again, anti-Semitic propaganda and hate has been completely normalized. And so they felt really proud to do it. And they wanted their 15 minutes of fame. And so they filmed themselves harassing him and trying to get him to say that October 7th was good and that the rape and murder of innocent women and children in Israel by Hamas was a good thing, and he wouldn't say it. And they escalated and escalated and escalated and got really ugly. And it was horrible. And this poor guy, he was like, I just want peace. He was like, I believe in peace. I believe in the humanity of all people. He was just like a sweet little wonderful, like minding his own business guy. And they went after him, and they went after him hard. And the community of Hastings-on-Hudson did what all communities should be doing, but almost no communities are actually doing. They showed up in force. They said, not here, not in our neighborhood, not in our community, not on my watch. I will not let this happen. And they showed up to his pizza parlor. Hundreds of people came day in, day out, bought him out, showed up in support and solidarity, brought the media, showed everybody that they stand with him, that they won't allow for him to be bullied, they won't allow for him to be targeted, that they love him, that they respect him, and that they value him as a member of their community. And they stood up to this modern day Nazi movement, the way that everybody should be. And so they are my heroes this week. And we see it. Just so you know, I know it's a little town in the middle of New York. On the other side of the planet, you guys moved me to tears. So I want you to know that it made not just an impact to him and to the Jewish community locally, but to the Jewish community around the world. So I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. You guys are my heroes this week.
Wow, that's such an
Very
amazing
nice.
story.
Isn't it beautiful?
Well, if everybody actually stood up like this, then this Ku Klux Klan, I love that, wouldn't have where to go. Or, you know, if you just want Jewish businesses to make more money because you keep harassing them. The same thing happened, by the way, in the 2nd Avenue Deli, which is such a iconic place in New York. And the same things happen then, and people are showing up and saying enough is enough. Happened to an Israeli cafe a couple of years ago. It keeps happening, but it's nothing like a community fighting back, because that is really the effect. That is how you can have an effect and eliminate anti-Semitism in your midst. You have the power. Do it. Okay, I want to talk about another hero. I've been watching this guy for a while, and it's not just him. Him and his company, Alex Karp. He's the CEO of Palantir. Palantir is one of the biggest companies in the world that does, you know, massive software. They take massive data, software, and they make it make sense and take action, insights and then action. And of course, this type of work is very crucial for national security. It's crucial for anti-terrorism. And he created this company after 9/11 when he saw that there was a lot of data that wasn't used actionably in order to prevent one of the biggest terrorist attacks in the world that happened on 9/11. Alex Karp, from the beginning of October 7th, has been completely morally clear about who the good guys are, us, and the bad guys are Hamas and Islamists around the world. And of course, there's been a lot of pressure also by his own staff, by everyone around him to constantly to say things against Israel, to say he won't do business with Israel, and he has had none of it. And this week, and this is why I'm bringing him now as my hero, this week, he did something pretty unprecedented. He put out a full-page ad in the New York Times, look at this, saying, Palantir stands with Israel. No ifs, no buts, no whens, no whats. This is bravery. This is a hero. Alex Karp, thank you for being a modern-day hero. Thank you for being unequivocal about who the bad guys are. Thank you for doing business with Israel and standing behind us when we needed you the most. You're my hero this week.
It's wild that it takes something like, it's wild that someone has to be like, okay, I guess I'll spend, I don't know, what, $10,000 on a full-page ad in the New York Times?
In the New York Times.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, to be like, F off.
Exactly.
This is my stance.
Also, there was that very viral video of him where someone stood up at one of his panels at an event and started screaming about Palestinians, and they're like, Palantir kills Palestinians. And he was like, well, yeah.
Terrorists.
The terrorists.
The terrorists. Yeah.
Completely, what's the problem? You support terrorists? Like, what's the issue? We more accurately kill terrorists.
Exactly. In fact, he's saving lives by being more accurate with the data to kill terrorists. That's what these people don't get. He's unflappable. I love him. I've been watching him for years, and I think he's fantastic.
Well done.
Okay, well, praying for more heroes, praying for the end of this conflict that brings out the toxic regime that is basically occupying the entire world with their venom and their terror. Praying for our soldiers to stay safe. And tomorrow is our Remembrance Day for the fallen soldiers and the people fallen in terrorist attacks. And, you know, there's nothing more painful in this country than this day. Honestly, there's nothing more painful in this country than this day. It's a day of national mourning, which then leads into our independence celebration. And that really is just, you know, the representation of our lives is here. One day we're mourning, the next day we're celebrating. And that is what the Jewish people have been doing for thousands of years, living with national whiplash, living with pain and celebration constantly side by side. And this is now what we're going into in the next 24 hours. So we pray for all those families who've lost their children and lost their loved ones. And we pray for the soldiers who still need to get better and get back on their feet. Thank you for watching.